If you've ever turned down an invitation and felt that weird guilt afterward, like you just failed a secret life test, this is for you. We're talking about the psychology of people who genuinely love staying home. Not as fear, not as missing out, as something your nervous system is doing on purpose. Here's the reframe. For a lot of people, staying home isn't escape, it's regulation. Some brains process stimulation deeply, so too much input creates overload, not fun. Quiet isn't comfort. Quiet is recovery, the reset that lets your mind sort the world instead of drowning in it. And once you see the first place this shows up, the guilt starts to look suspicious. Think of a normal social night. You're at dinner, you're smiling, you're tracking the jokes, the side conversations, the tone shifts. Around minute 40, your shoulders get heavy, your answers get shorter, and you start doing that thing where you laugh a half second late because you're still processing the previous sentence. You drive home with the radio off, and the first real relief isn't solitude, it's silence. That's what I call the stimulation tax. It's the energy cost of taking in too much information at once, especially if your brain doesn't skim. It reads the whole page. For some people, social settings aren't just interaction, they're constant decoding. So staying home isn't a personality quirk, it's the nervous system protecting its bandwidth. And if you've ever wondered why small talk can feel exhausting in a way work doesn't, that's the next layer. Because it's not only about energy, it's about what your attention is being spent on. Picture a table where everyone is talking and nobody is really listening. Topics change every 10 seconds. You nod, you smile, you keep up, and you can feel your brain working harder than it should for something that's supposed to be fun. You leave, and nothing sticks. Not because you're cold, because there was nothing to hold on to. This is social decoding mode. You're not connecting, you're translating. You're tracking tone, status, jokes that land, jokes that don't, the little shifts in who's performing for who. People who love staying home often aren't antisocial. They're selective. Their attention has a cost, so they spend it where it turns into something real. One honest conversation can feel nourishing. 10 shallow interactions can feel like a leak. This is the part that gets misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like withdrawal. From the inside, it's standards. But standards don't come from nowhere. They usually come from knowing what happens when the noise finally stops. There's a moment at home when the world stops asking things from you. Phone face down. No one watching, no need to react. You're not trying to be productive, but your mind starts connecting dots anyway. Something that felt tangled earlier becomes obvious. You open a note and write one sentence that solves a problem you've been circling all week. This is why the "they just sit there" stereotype misses the point. Quiet is not empty. Quiet is integration. It's where your brain links memories, makes meaning, notices patterns. That's not romantic. It's practical. Some people do their best thinking when the volume drops. And here's the uncomfortable part. When you don't give your brain this space, you don't just get tired, you start living in reaction mode, which is where the real cost shows up. This is where a lot of people get trapped. They keep overriding their need for quiet to stay visible. They go out because it looks normal. They stay because leaving feels awkward. They laugh, they keep pace, they post a photo so it counts, and then they come home feeling flat, like they spent energy without gaining anything back. That's the trade. The relief is real in the moment because you avoided judgment. The bill comes later because you avoided yourself. Over time, you start confusing activity with aliveness. You confuse being seen with being connected. That's how people end up socially busy but emotionally underfed. It's not a flaw, it's a system mismatch. And once you see the mismatch, a different kind of strength becomes possible, the kind that doesn't require permission from the crowd. There's a specific kind of confidence that looks boring from the outside. Your group chat lights up with plans. You feel the old reflex, the urge to justify, to soften the no, to explain that you're not rejecting anyone. Then you stop. You don't panic. You don't build a story. You just let the night be yours. That's the quiet flex. Not dominance, not "I don't need anyone," just self-trust. It's the moment you stop treating your rhythm like something you have to defend. Because the truth is, approval was never paying you back. It was just renting your time. This doesn't mean you should never go out. It means you should notice when you're saying yes to avoid a feeling instead of to meet a person. And once you can tell the difference, your relationships start changing fast. Think about an evening with one person who actually sees you. No phones, no performance, long pauses that don't need filling. You leave feeling full instead of drained. Not entertained, understood. People who love staying home often build connection like this. Fewer ties, deeper roots, presence over volume. They're not cold, they're precise. They'd rather have one interaction where they can be real than 10 where they have to be on. Visibility is not the same thing as aliveness. You can be in the center of attention and feel empty. You can be alone and feel more like yourself than you have all week. And when you understand that, staying home stops looking like a limitation. It starts looking like a choice. So here's the line to remember. It was never about being alone. It was about protecting the conditions where your mind can breathe and your relationships can be real. Some people find themselves through motion. Others find themselves through stillness. Both paths work when they're chosen honestly. You don't need to turn this into a label, and you don't need to apologize for it either. The goal isn't to hide from the world. The goal is to stop living like the world gets to decide what restores you. Here's the question to sit with. In your week, where do you feel most restored and where do you feel most performed? And next time, we'll talk about how to tell the difference between healthy solitude and the kind that quietly turns into avoidance.